So our body naturally goes through detoxification 24/7. It's a really important mechanism of our body because really we are exposed to a lot of things throughout our life. You know, we're exposed to chemicals in our food, chemicals that we breathe in, chemicals in our clothes. We're also exposed to drugs, of course. We need to take drugs here, there and everywhere. So things like Tylenol, Panadol, whatever we're taking, we obviously need to eventually excrete it, get rid of it from our body. Otherwise it will just keep building up. Other things like even just naturally occurring things in our body, like, you know, little molecules that are coming from bacteria in our gut, like lipopolysaccharides need to be eliminated. And even just natural things like our hormones need to eventually be detoxified and removed. And it's when our body isn't able to properly do this detoxification that we can end up feeling really yuck. So it's really important that we're able to actually support these different processes of detoxification so that we can really feel our best. So the process of detoxification mainly occurs in the liver, but there are other organs involved as well. But where we'll start is the liver, and essentially we're going through a couple of different phases. The first phase is pretty simple. It's just really about adding oxygen groups to the molecules that we're trying to detoxify. So for example, you might just place an oxygen onto the molecule, or you might actually place on something like an OH. And there are certain vitamins and minerals that are required in this step, like for example, glutathione is really heavily used in this step, and also amino acids, and of course the B vitamin. So we want to make sure we're getting enough of these things to be able to do this phase 1 process. When we're going through phase 1 detoxification, we're actually producing a lot of something called reactive oxygen species, or free radicals, which can be quite damaging to our tissue. So it's really important again to have enough glutathione here. Glutathione is our master antioxidant. So there are other antioxidants I'm sure you've heard of, like vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, things like that. But glutathione is really where it's at for our detoxification. We can produce it in our body naturally, but we need to make sure that we're also eating enough of our amino acids like glycine, glutamine and cysteine. So once we've gone through phase 1, we then need to go through phase 2, which also occurs in the liver. And essentially the process here is just trying to make the molecule we're trying to get rid of as water soluble as possible. So this might be adding like an acetyl group, or a glutathione group, or a methyl group, a sulfate group. These are all ways that we're going to make the molecule way more soluble. Why do we want to do this? Well, it makes it easier to excrete, because if you think about it, we're going to be excreting through our feces and through our urine mainly. So if we can make these molecules super water soluble, they're easier to excrete. So things that can support phase 2 detoxification in the liver are the sulfur containing amino acids. So things like taurine, glycine, glutamine, cysteine, they're all going to really help. And of course, as you might remember, a lot of these amino acids are actually used to make glutathione, which is also involved in phase 2 detoxification as well. So by supplying these amino acids, we're really helping with this process. So once we've gone through the phase 1 and phase 2 in the liver, and we've made these molecules we're trying to get rid of very water soluble, they then get chucked into the bile. So our liver actually makes the bile, and then it gets put into the gallbladder where it starts to concentrate. And then once we've had something to eat, it will then get released out, and this will form the stool. And so of course, if we are going to the toilet regularly and we're having regular bowel movements, ideally once a day at least, then we're able to actually get rid of these toxins because they've been made more water soluble. Another way we can excrete them, of course, is via the urine. And so again, this is why we make these molecules as water soluble as we can. Another really cool thing to do as well is to go through regular sauna, because sauna is obviously going to help us to sweat. And if these molecules are water soluble, then of course they can come through our sweat as well and be detoxified that way. So do you need like crazy juice cleansers and things like that to make detoxification work in our body? No, you definitely don't, and I don't actually see how that would work at all. What you do need though is to support the process with things like sulfur containing amino acids, so glutamine, glycine, taurine, cysteine. And as you might recall, it's the glutamine, the glycine and the cysteine that are actually going to help us to produce glutathione. And glutathione is our master antioxidant in our body as well. But as you may remember also, it's the glutathione that's also going to be part of phase 2 detoxification. So it's going to help. So I would be making sure that you're getting enough of these amino acids. You could take an amino acid supplement, or you can make sure that you're getting enough animal products in your diet. You also want to make sure you're getting enough of the B vitamins. This really helps with the detoxification as well, especially in phase 1. The other thing I like to consider as well is if there is a known exposure. For example, you've been exposed to more chemicals than usual. Let's say that you've had an exposure to a biotoxin, a mold, something like that, or you've been ill and you've been taking more pharmaceutical drugs over the last week, for example, then you just up the ante. You just make sure that you are supplementing a little bit over that period of time with those things that I just said. You might even want to do a little bit more sauna. You might do a few sessions in a row of sauna to make sure that you're eliminating a little bit more that way. So anyway, I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, please reach out.